Hello, welcome into the workshop. Today I'm going to show you how I take chunks of wood and make them into round dowels or joint pegs, as I call them. The process that I use to do this, I just use simple tools to make these pegs. I enjoy this process and find it very rewarding.
So Dad, what are those pegs made to do?
So those pegs are what I hold my signature pieces together. You can see in these pictures different joints that I've made. This is in our staircase in our home. This piece here is the baker's rack in our kitchen. You can see the three pegs that hold the shelf on. And here's another picture from our staircase that has all these different pieces going back and forth, all pegged together. This piece is in our gallery right now. It's completely made by hand tools. No power tools were used in it. It's all joined by pegs or mortise and tenon and glues, no screws. So we need to start off with a straight grain piece of wood, something that is dry, obviously, especially needs to be as dry or drier than the wood you're joining. Sometimes you can use wood that for the stuff that you're joining, if it's a little bit green and this is drier, though your peg is drier, then the actual wood that you're joining will shrink around the peg. You got to be aware of that because it could also cause it to split. I prefer using hardwood, but you can do it with, I've done it with pine or any softwood or hardwood. It just works a little differently. Try to find if the wood has already got a split, like this piece that I'm doing already has a split down the side. I'll use that for my first split, and then it tells me how the grain is flowing. A couple of whacks on the back side of the joint or the peg maker, it goes through.
Okay, Dad, what is that?
So that is a little jig I made so that I can hold the wood still while I'm splitting it. Basically, it's just a couple of boards screwed together that kind of form an L shape. The bottom board has to be pretty heavy because you're going to be beating on it, and then you just drill some holes through the long side of the L to make a string with two loops in it. One loop is to tighten up the wood, and the other loop is actually to put the wood in. You can use a wedge on the one side then and tighten up the string on the other side. It just helps hold the wood so it doesn't fall over, so you can actually do multiple splits before you're done with the piece that you're working with. It's really nice because the rope has some give in it, and so you can still split. If you were using a clamp of some type, it would hold it so tight you wouldn't be able to split the wood. So this little jig works really well.
Okay.
Yeah?
What are you doing? I thought you were going to split it.
Well, sometimes it's good to get a reference point. So sometimes I'll lay the peg maker on its side on there, and I'll just draw a circle with the hole size that I'm trying to get. So I'm trying to make 3/4 inch dowels or pegs right now. So I'll lay that down there, and then I'll just draw a circle in there, and that just gives me a reference point as I'm splitting how wide I want to split. Obviously I want to split a little bit wider than the actual 3/4 that I need.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. I mean, it totally makes sense that you draw the circle so you don't make the square too big or too small.
Very good. So as I'm splitting, if I use a piece like this, you can see the two splits there. I'm going to end up with some chunks of wood that are too big and some chunks of wood that are too small. Maybe I'll end up some pieces that are over 1 inch thick and some pieces that are under 3/4. Well, I'll just throw those aside because I'll always need different size pegs at different points. So I'll at some point make a 1 inch peg out of it or a 1/2 inch peg out of it if it's too big or too small. So what do you think, Gabriella?
Wow, that's really cool, Dad. But can I go play with my horse?
Okay, thanks for your help. So now we just take the square chunks of wood and we remove as much material as we think we need to get it to fit. You need to sharpen it like a pencil to get it to start in the hole on the peg maker. And then obviously if you can take off the corners as much as possible, with time this becomes easier and easier to know how much to take off. But the more material you remove, the easier it's going to be to pound through there, and the less material you have to remove with the peg maker. Now if you don't feel comfortable with the hatchet, another way you can do this is with a utility knife. This is a pretty simple way of doing it. It's just like whittling basically, so you just take off material a little at a time and sharpen it. You can also usually, if you're using really straight grain wood, you can split it down a little smaller after you pull it out if you need to. So then it's just a matter of figuring out if it's going to fit. If it doesn't fit, just shave a little more off to get it started in the peg maker. Once you get it started in there, then you can start pounding it through, usually with bigger pegs, 3/4, 1 inch, and 1 1/4, or even bigger I've made. You need a little bigger hammer sometimes, depending upon how much material you take off. If you don't take off as much material in your shaving process, you need a bigger hammer to pound it through. This is oak, like I said, so it's a pretty strong wood. But as you can see, I'm shaving off a fair amount of material, and it just comes right off the side as you pound it through. Putting a square peg through a round hole. You don't want to hit the metal if you can avoid it. No metal on metal, because you'll just mushroom over the edges of your peg maker. So sometimes you'll have to use another peg to finish pounding it through. And there you go. There you have a round peg. Sometimes it's a little rough, and I know it might be a pretty tight fit, so I'll just scrape off a little bit to smooth it off or make it a little smaller if I go through a hole, if the hole is exactly 3/4. Now over the years I've tried a lot of different processes. This is my original peg maker that I made 20 some years ago. It's actually a plate that hung on my wood stove. As you can see, it was kind of bent up. It was a little bit thin material. This is another one that I had made, and it's a little bit too thick of material. It works okay. The actual one that I'm using now and that I designed, and it seems to work pretty well, is 1/4 inch thick. So you can just make one of these yourself. All you need is a 1/4 inch plate of steel and then drill some holes in it. These holes are actually punched in it. Here's the dimensions of the one that I designed. Seems to work pretty well.
But Dad?
Yes, Hugh?
Can't they just get one from us at Lost Treehouse?
Yeah, they can order one from us if they would like. To get in touch with us, you can reach us, call my wife Jonelle at 715-612-6188, or you can email her at jonelle@losttreehouse.com. Thank you very much to Hugh and Gabriella Bushor for helping with this video. I hope you enjoyed it.